Hi there, and welcome to Ian's N-Gauge channel. I'm Ian. In a previous video, I showed how I tested a GaugeMaster DCC80 Autofrog module. These are a very attractive bit of kit for controlling the frog polarity when a loco passes over a point. It's a self-contained solution, taking its power from the DCC bus and connecting directly to the frog. I was going to be switching points on Shelfington using micro servo motors, and my preferred servo controller for controlling them was the ESU Switch Pilot Servo. Although ESU provided their own extension modules for controlling the frog polarity via the Switch Pilot extension, I didn't want to be tied into their ecosystem, as it wasn't particularly cheap and I still had designs on creating my own Arduino-based servo controllers. So, the GaugeMaster Autofrogs were perfect for the job. However, there was a niggling problem with them. I couldn't get them to switch the frog polarity when using my NCE Powercab controller. I suspected that this was because the Powercab power supply was underpowered, as when using my Yamaha YD7001 command station, the Autofrog modules worked flawlessly. So in this video I'm going to investigate two potential solutions to the problem. The first will be to use an alternative type of Autofrog module manufactured by AE Model. And the second will be to upgrade the power supply of my NCE Powercab so it can provide a little more oomph. I'll be using the same test environment that I used in the previous frog polarity switching video. But before beginning, the track required a good clean. To do this, I use my favourite cleaning agent, which is WD-40 Contact Cleaner. Next, I piggybacked some DCC power from the rails of my main test track and checked that the power was being successfully transferred to each branch of track in the test environment. Power was being provided by the NCE Powercab using its original power supply, which output 13.8 volts at 1.8 amps. All seemed in order, so we could begin. Before testing the Autofrog modules, I needed a baseline for the test, for which I decided to use my Graham Farish Class 03. The Class 03 was the shortest wheelbase loco in my fleet that didn't have a steer live fitted. Before starting the test, I ensured that the momentum setting was set to 0 on my NCE Powercab. This was so I could ensure a constant speed across the frog for each test. I then set the loco running at speed step 30 out of 128. This was a realistic slow speed that the Class 03 would run in the marshalling yard and other sidings on Shelfington. The little loco stopped on first contact with the unpowered piece of track. This was good though, as at least the test results were consistent with those performed previously. Similar to the GaugeMaster Autofrog, the AE Model Frog Power Controller is a small module that acts as a switch to change the frog polarity when a loco crosses over it. It does this by detecting a short circuit between the power being supplied to the wheels and the power supplied to the frog, and quickly switches the frog polarity to match the wheel polarity. The main difference between these and the GaugeMaster Autofrog is that they have screw terminals for connecting the wiring, making them much easier to set up as they don't require any soldering. Of the 3 required wires, 2 needed to be connected to the DCC bus and the third connected to the frog wire of the Unifrog point. I originally tried using ferrules on my wires, but the hole beneath the screw terminal wasn't large enough to insert a ferrule, so I had to cut them off and strip the wires back again. Once I'd screwed the bare wires into the terminals, I connected them to the track using a combination of inline Wago connectors and some crocodile clips, Of course, you can't see anything of what I'm doing here, as my arms are always in the way. Once the connections had been made, I ensured that the frog was powered across one set of rails, to satisfy myself that power was getting to the module. So this was the big test. Would the combination of NCE Powercab with original power supply and an AA model frog power controller succeed in switching the frog polarity where the Gagemaster Autofrog had failed? Once again I set the Class 03 running at speed step 30 and watched as the loco approached the point. And yes, the little loco successfully traversed the point. But would switching lanes work? Yes, again, you could hear the relay click as the loco encountered the frog and the relay switched the polarity. This was excellent. However, while the AA model unit worked well, one thing to note was that there was a constant faint hum coming from the module, which I didn't particularly like. I hadn't actually expected the AA model Autofrog to work. So, just to satisfy myself that the Gagemaster Autofrogs wouldn't work with the original power supply, I performed another test. I quickly swapped out the AA model unit for a Gagemaster one, and yes, my arms are in the way again. But once the modules had been swapped, off the Class 03 went again at speed step 30, and I watched as the loco approached the point. Failure, as expected, every time I tried to cross the point. So that was a good verification that the loco would not cross the point when the original power supply was being used to power the NCE Powercab. As mentioned previously, the NCE Powercab was shipped with a 13.8 volt, 1.8 amp power supply, and I was convinced it wasn't powerful enough to successfully switch the polarity using the Gagemaster Autofrog. I therefore purchased a power supply from DCC Concepts that supplied 18 volts and 2 amps of power to the Powercab. I switched to the DCC Concepts power supply and checked that the expected power was getting to the test track. I then ran the Gagemaster Autofrog test again. Off went the Class 03 at speed step 30 and I watched nervously as it approached the point. Success, yes. However, would switching lanes work? Yes, you hear the relay in the unit click as the loco encountered the frog and the polarity changed. So, it appeared that I was correct, and more power was required to switch the frog polarity when using a Gagemaster Autofrog. Just for completeness, I tried the combination of NCE Powercab with upgraded power supply and an AA model frog power controller. I quickly swapped the Autofrog modules again, and yes, my arms still got in the way even though I changed the viewpoint. I set the Class 03 running at speed step 30 yet again and watched as the loco approached the point. Yes, as expected, the loco successfully navigated the point multiple times along both lanes. Okay, so that's about it for this update. I've been very pleased with the upgraded DCC Concepts power supply so far, as it has extended the usefulness of my NCE Powercab. I've also been pleased with the AE model Frog Power controllers, as they seem to work at a lower power than the Gagemaster Auto Frogs. They're a great alternative to the Gagemaster units, especially if you don't like soldering. They're also a little cheaper than the Gagemaster Auto Frogs too. I just wish they were silent. As usual, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Have you had to upgrade your NCE Powercab's power supply? If so, what do you use? How much power does it output? And has it caused any problems? Do you use either of the Frog Polarity switching units I've featured here, or something similar on your model railway? Good or bad, let me know what your experiences are. Alternatively, if you've got any hints, tips, useful tools or techniques to pass on to a fellow N-Gage modeler, or if you simply want to say hello, then please do so in the comments section. Anything and everything you've got to say will be greatly appreciated. In the meantime, thanks ever so much for watching. Hopefully I'll have another update on my progress soon. Bye.